Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a pretty massive idea. The claim that we, right now, are living through the single most disruptive decade in all of human history. I mean, that's a bold statement, right? So let's really break it down.
Okay, let's kick things off with a question that honestly sounds a little crazy. How could a smartphone, the thing in your pocket, possibly destroy the entire oil industry? I know, it seems totally disconnected, but stick with me. Understanding the answer to this is the key to everything we're talking about today.
So let's go back to 2007. The iPhone just launched. And this quote? This is from Steve Ballmer, the CEO of Microsoft at the time. One of the biggest, most powerful tech companies on the planet. And what did he say? No chance. He literally laughed it off. A $500 phone with no keyboard? To him, it wasn't a threat. It was just an expensive toy.
And here's the thing. Ballmer wasn't alone, not by a long shot. You had the giants, Nokia and BlackBerry, sitting on top of the world. They had everything they needed to own the future of phones, but they were completely blind to what was coming. They were just so locked into how they'd always done things, so focused on their current way of making money that they couldn't see the tsunami that was about to wipe them off the map. And this right here is a pattern we're going to see over and over.
The iPhone didn't just magically appear in 2007. It was only possible because a bunch of different technologies, completely separate technologies, all hit a tipping point at the exact same time. It's like all the ingredients for a new recipe finally became cheap and good enough. Think about it. You needed lithium-ion batteries that could last, multi-touch screens that were actually responsive, fast mobile data, powerful little computer chips. All these different streams had to flow together into one river to make the smartphone a reality.
And wow, just look at this. The speed of this collapse is absolutely staggering. You're looking at the chart right now. In 2007, Nokia owned more than half the entire smartphone market. Half. Just 5 years later, less than 3%. That's not a slow decline. That's not a gentle slope. That is falling off a cliff.
Okay, so this is where we connect the dots back to our original question about oil. This is the domino effect. It all starts with the smartphone, right? That's step one. Suddenly, you can have apps like Uber and Lyft. That's ride-hailing. The massive success of ride-hailing, step two, pours billions of dollars of investment into electric vehicles, or EVs. Then, because we're making so many EVs, step three, battery costs just plummet for everybody. This leads us to step four, where cheap batteries, self-driving tech, and ride-hailing all converge to create something new, transportation as a service, or TaaS. The prediction here is that it'll be 10 times cheaper than owning your own car. And if that happens, step five, the need for individual cars craters, and with it, the demand for oil absolutely collapses. See, the smartphone didn't attack oil directly, it just tipped over the first domino.
So this whole pattern, the blind experts, the convergence of tech, the rapid S-curve collapse, it feels very modern, but it's not new at all. In fact, it's kind of in the engine of history for a long, long time. So let's jump in our time machine and go back to the early 1900s, because we're going to see the exact same story play out.
Right, so the car. It wasn't just a slightly faster horse, okay? The Ford Model T was a 10 times improvement in what we call price performance. That's huge. We're talking an order of magnitude better. It was cheaper, it was faster, it was stronger, it could go further. When you get a 10x jump like that, it's not just an improvement, it's a total game changer. It makes the old way of doing things look, well, completely obsolete.
And look at this chart. It's that same pattern again, a classic S-curve, just like the smartphone decades later. As soon as the car hit that sweet spot of being cheap enough and good enough, its adoption just exploded. We're talking going from basically a niche product to total market dominance in about a decade. This is so important to get. Disruption doesn't happen in a straight line. It's exponential.
And does this quote sound familiar? Humankind has traveled for centuries. Why would anything be different? This is from a Carriage magazine. Again, the people who were the experts, the ones whose entire lives revolved around transportation, were the most blind. They just couldn't wrap their heads around a world without horses. It's the exact same mindset that Steve Ballmer had about a phone without a keyboard.
Okay, so we've seen how this pattern of disruption topples products, even entire industries. But now we're going to zoom out, way out. What if this isn't just about phones and cars? What if these exact same rules apply to something much, much bigger, like the rise and fall of entire civilizations?
So, the argument here is that for most of our history, we lived in an age of survival. We were small, nomadic groups, and cooperation was everything. But then, around 10,000 years ago, agriculture changed the game. We entered a new phase, the age of extraction. Suddenly, it's all about farming, building cities, creating hierarchies, and fighting over scarce resources like land and water. This new system allowed for incredible growth, for sure, but it also locked us into this endless cycle of competition and conflict.
And here's a really key concept. The success of a civilization isn't just about its cool new tools or technologies. It's about its organizing system. You can think of this like the operating system for a society. It's the whole package, the beliefs, the laws, the government, the economy. And just like having the latest processor is useless if your software is ancient, having a powerful new technology doesn't help if your society's operating system can't adapt to it.
And if you look back through history, you see these massive leaps, these new orders of civilization. Each time, a combination of new tech and a new organizing system allowed for a huge jump in scale. In fact, each new order was able to support a city that was roughly 10 times bigger than the one before it. You see it go from small settlements to huge cities like Uruk, then to a megacity like Rome, and finally to the sprawling metropolises of the industrial age.
But here is the most important, and frankly, kind of scary, lesson from all of this. The civilization that's on top of one order has never successfully transitioned to lead the next one. Not once. Think about it. Sumer, Babylon, Rome, every single one of them hit a wall. Their organizing system, the very thing that made them great, became too rigid. They couldn't adapt to the new reality, and so they collapsed.
And that brings us right here, right now, with some pretty chilling relevance, doesn't it? The core argument we're exploring today is that we are living through one of these massive transition points right now. And it might just be the biggest, most important one in the entire history of our species.
See, this time it's different. It's not just one big disruption like the printing press or the car. For the first time in human history, that same pattern of radical, 10 times better disruption is happening in 5 absolutely essential sectors of our global economy, all at the exact same time.
We're talking about information, energy, food, transportation, and materials. I mean, just think about that list for a second. That's everything. That's the very foundation of modern civilization. And the argument is that every single one of them is on the verge of being totally transformed, simultaneously, completely changing how we power our world, how we eat, how we move, and what we build with. And this table does a great job of showing the nuts and bolts of this shift. We are moving away from what's called an extraction-based system. That's our world today. Centralized, top-down systems that break down scarce resources, like digging up oil or mining minerals. We're moving towards a creation-based system. This is completely different. It's decentralized, it's local, and it creates what we need from abundant building blocks all around us. Think photons from the sun, electrons, even DNA. It's a fundamental shift from a logic of scarcity to one of potential abundance. So if the very foundation of how we produce everything is about to be turned on its head, what does that mean for our organizing system? Well, it means our current systems, our governments, our economic models, the very idea of the nation-state are becoming obsolete, and fast. And that leaves us, our generation, with a choice of absolutely monumental proportions. And I mean, just look around you. When faced with this change, what are our current systems doing? Are they adapting? No. They're doubling down on the old playbook. More centralization, more control, more extraction. This quote puts it so bluntly. It's no different than a collapsing empire calling for more walls and more blood sacrifices to appease the gods. It's a desperate move, and it's a strategy that, throughout all of history, has a perfect record of failure. So, this is what it all boils down to. The technologies for a radically different, potentially much better world are arriving. But the tech itself isn't going to save us, that's on us. We're at a fork in the road. Do we have the courage to design a new organizing system, one that's built for this new age of creation? Or do we just cling to what's familiar and follow every other great civilization in history right off the cliff?
And that really is the ultimate question, isn't it? For the first time in all of human history, we can actually see the pattern. We understand how this works. We're not blind to it. So what we choose to do in this decade, right now, will decide everything. Will our children look back and thank us for ushering in an age of freedom? Or will they curse us for letting it all slip away into another dark age? The choice is ours.